Good morning. I am Pam Ettinger. For those of you who have not met me who are new, I'm the college president. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you this morning. I hope that all of you have received the agenda for this morning, so that we all follow along together. I'm seeing 100 and oh, those numbers are climbing. I'm seeing 186 of you on with us, and that's a wonderful showing. Um, I would like you to, in your mind, imagine that you're in a huge auditorium with the sun shining, and there's breakfast outside with coffee and all those wonderful things that Kevin Wary, our director for cultural events and programming, always bring to the table. And as you think about that yummy stuff and all the good friends that you've hugged, um, in that spirit, let's begin. All right. So I'm going to start this morning by introducing a friend who is going to lead us into our land acknowledgement. This morning, we welcome Larry Spotted Cow Man. Hi, Larry. Good morning. We welcome Larry to the family of Bunker Hill Community College as this year's artist in residence. We will share Larry's work more extensively later in the program. But to begin the morning, Larry is going to lead us in observing a land acknowledgement he is developing for Bunker Hill Community College and the Boston site on which we reside. Now, for those of you who are new to land acknowledgement, I offer the following explanation. And the following explanation about land acknowledgement is gleaned from a piece of writing that originated from the Native American and Indigenous Initiative of the Office of Institutional Inclusion and Diversity at Northeastern University in Illinois. Now, the elegant phrasings that you will hear are from the original text, and all the clumsy editing, those are all mine. All right. So, a land acknowledgement is an Indigenous protocol that recognizes Indigenous peoples as traditional stewards of our land and the enduring relationship between them and their traditional territories. To recognize the land as an expression of gratitude and respect for the territory on which we reside, and an honoring of the Indigenous peoples who have been living and working on these lands from the very beginning. Land acknowledgement do not exist in past tense, since colonialism is an ongoing process. We are mindful of our participation. We continue to learn the long history that has brought us to reside on the land of Bunker Hill Community College, and we seek to understand our place in that history. A land acknowledgement makes manifest the invisibility and the erasure of Native American culture. It defrosts the past and decompresses time. It challenges thinking, raises critical consciousness, and invites introspection. It is emotional and it is spiritual. A land acknowledgement is paired with a call to action, a call for accountability, for affinity, alliances, collaboration, and the building of respectful relationships with Indigenous nations and communities and peoples. Now, in that spirit, please welcome Larry Spotted Cow Man from the Nipmuc people, who will share his original land acknowledgement statement in development for Bunker Hill Community College and this site of Boston. Larry, good morning.
Morning, Pam. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to ask everyone to mute.
Thank you. Once again, greetings, everybody. My name is Larry Spotted Crow Man from the Nipmuc Nation. I'm really happy to be here today in this kind of rainy weather here, coming to you from Nipmuc homeland in Webster, Massachusetts. So before I read that, actually, the first thing I think I need to do is share some words in this land's language in the song. So what we say in our language is "Wu nashaw natumo manatu tabatni, wutuchi kinnisin okumis tabatni wuchi sapausu, wasukati huanat Notas ninawa menantiong. Kim nuta yu pentamino. Enemeo ninawa me quantam kichia. Ka mata wananta. Ka nagutie hokuta ninawa. Manatu. Wasakatia guna. Omanetetiyo. Ka noso komuso amoke. Ninaho kankantu chokesiche. Ninaho kankantu chokesiche. I greet you in the words of this language of this land. I greet you in the words of peace and reciprocity and sharing. And so before I actually read that, I want to offer this Nipmuc healing song in this very tumultuous time. And we can't really remember when it's not tumultuous. So it's always important to have these kind of songs relevant and important and shared in our lives. So I want to open up with the drum. And I think we always, in our traditions, we open up with the drum because the drum reverberates that healing and that connectedness, that oneness, and it kind of sets the stage and puts us in that place, in that frame of mind to receive that reciprocity and that sharing. So I want to share this. Manato Nitske Hueyo Ninawan Uchesi ya eyuteyo, wayuteyo, akwani enenawa. Nina wanti antam, Nina wanti antam, heyo, heyo, heya, heyo, heyo, heya, 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 heya. Ya ra 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 ho. Marato Niske Hueyo Ninawan O Jessica Ka eyuteyo, payuteyo, akwani enenawa. Nina wanti antam, Nina wanti antam. Heyo, heyo, heya, heyo, heyo, heya, 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 heya. Thank you. I hope that song was healing and bringing you some joy this morning. Now I'd just like to share a land acknowledgement. I also want to preface that since the beginning of time, Native people have always honored the land that they are on. When we're traveling to different tribal communities, one of the first things we would always say is we acknowledge we are on the land of the Dene or the Anishinaabe or the Lakota people. So it's kind of shifted now for the relevant reasons as Pam explained. So I want to share these words. We want to recognize that the land that we are on, where Bunker Hill now sits, is a land we are all benefiting from, is the homeland of the Massachusetts tribe, which is named after our state. The Massachusetts tribal people have been stewards of this land for thousands of years. Massachusetts is the Algonquin word for Great Hill. The present-day citizens are the descendants of the Neponset band of the Massachusetts tribal people who were led by Sachem Chickatobit. The neighboring nations of the Massachusetts tribe are the Nipmuc, my folks, of the central portion of the state, and the Stockbridge-Munsee Mohican people of the western portion. Just south of Boston and the Cape and Islands are the Wampanoag Nation peoples. We further recognize that Massachusetts, in many respects, has historically been at the center of freedom, democracy, science, industry, and education that has made the United States of America one of the most prosperous countries in history, but yet has failed to acknowledge the contributions and sacrifice of the tribes of Massachusetts, and adding insult to injury, has systemically engaged in removal, erasure, and the usurping of tribal lands. We today now benefit from the confiscation of native lands and colonial expansion underscored by a Eurocentric narrative that has attempted to obliterate an entire people's history and culture that has spanned for millennia. Despite centuries of genocide, erasure, and starting in the late 1800s, forcefully taking thousands of Native American children from their homes to boarding schools, where countless children died at the hands of the church and state, the Native nations are still here. With this in mind, and this day forward, it is a call to the faculty and students of Bunker Hill Community College to show recognition, respect, and honor for the tribes of Massachusetts by taking intentional and meaningful action steps. Please get to know the indigenous peoples of your area and ask what you can do to lift and raise their voices, honor, and respect their sovereignty. And in that spirit, we have 3 action steps to share. First, recognize and make changes to the dominant narrative that glorifies colonization and genocide of indigenous peoples of this area. Be mindful of the problematic terms like Pioneer Valley. They are reminders of a legacy of dispossession, removal, and subsequent erasure. Second, support Native organizations, such as the Okiteo Cultural Center. It is the first and only Native-run and operated cultural center in all of central and western Massachusetts that strives to continue cultivating, learning, and growth for indigenous community and the next generations. Also, reach out directly to the people of the Massachusetts tribe and see how you can get involved and be an ally. We have their website, massachusettstribe.org. Consider supporting the Nipmuc Cultural Preservation, which is actively seeking assistance with the funding and restoration of repatriated lands through the Land Back movement. Lastly, there are 5 bills that 6 tribes of Massachusetts support in the State House right now that addresses racist mascots in public schools, changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, respecting cultural heritage, a bill to create appropriate educational curriculum on Massachusetts tribes, and to create a permanent commission to ensure Native youth education. Please contact your local legislator through massindigenousagenda.org and encourage them to co-sponsor and support these bills. With the present-day challenges of climate disruption, cultural fragmentation, and political unrest around the world, let us therefore look to the land in a holistic way. Let us commit to working with the tribes of Massachusetts to educate the citizenry on the philosophy, content, and methods of sustainable and regenerative lifestyles, practices, and protocols so central to the teachings of indigenous peoples of this land and so necessary for our time on this planet Earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. I hope you hear the applause and the support and the warmth that is coming through our participants. There are, right now, at this moment, 274 people remembering the past and remembering the past with you. We look forward to the year with you. And later on in the program, we will have a longer presentation and discussion. So we pause for the moment, but we will welcome you back in a little bit.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate you all sharing with you all and look forward to it. Thank you.
All right. So welcome to the family, Larry. And to folks around the table now, there's 277 of you. It is amazing to have that many folks on with us. For those of you who worked during the summer, and I hope that even if you worked, you had some time off to take care of yourself and your family, and to have some room to read and to reflect and to have some time in this very, very turbulent world. And I offer you a distant but very warm embrace, especially to the new folks who are joining us. This is my 8th year with you, and I'm grateful and excited to begin. The butterflies in the stomach is always there during the beginning of the year. It is a sense of excitement. And I haven't not had 4 cups of coffee like I usually do, outside a library and outside the gallery. So I am calm and collected. I think convocations and commencements are really powerful ways to mark time. Convocation is a new beginning for those of us who serve, and commencement is a new beginning for our students in their new adventure. Both of these have taken really strange forms, and now in our 2nd year, Um, I know we lament about the state of affairs and endure endless debates about the right thing to do. And in our quieter moments, when we think about the mission of our work, though, that singular focus is still there. In the very center of our effort is education of our students. The rest is noise. The lifting up and transformation of our learners so they reach their potential. That's why we're here together. And I think the simplicity and the selflessness of that work has not changed. Despite COVID, despite the constant reminder that we must find healing strategies with the climate, with our global interactions, with our social and economic recovery for people in our community. So it is in that spirit and in the centering of our efforts together, and this enduring and, in my mind, immutable commitment that I call you back today, to open our school year. So come back with hope, with optimism, with flexibility, all the elements that we applied together over the last 18 months to serve our students and serve our mission. And I think all of us, faculty, staff, administrators, and students, we stand together so that our students can rise. And I'm really grateful to be part of that work. So welcome back and welcome to the center of our effort. Um, so at this moment, I want to turn the proceedings over to Dr. Jim Caniff, our provost and our vice president of academic and student affairs. Um, Jim, would you take a few minutes to talk with us?
Sure. Morning, everyone, and let me welcome all of you, Convocation, and to the beginning of the 2021-22 academic year. You know, back in June, I thought this meeting would be face-to-face and we would all be in A300 and talking with one another and greeting one another, and that was not to be. This pandemic has continued to take hold, and we have to see what the future poses this fall. But I want everybody to keep in mind that as Pam indicated, the education of our students and what happens to them in the classroom and the interaction, that's the most important piece of what we do. It's part of our mission. And I also want to reiterate that as we have gone through this pandemic, we have always kept your safety and our safety as our top priority for every faculty member, every student, every administrator, and everybody who works at this college. And that commitment will continue. We take this, as you know, very seriously, but they are difficult waters to move through. And while all of us want more answers, they're not so evident. So we have to be in some ways a little bit patient, but I offer that as a kind of a perspective. I want to make you aware of a couple of activities. One is that last week I met with Kim Frazier and with Khalid about their work on the development of a curriculum development manual for this college. And they have made incredible progress and have made a very comprehensive document that talks about implementation of new courses, revision of existing courses, new programs, processes within the college and outside the college that have to happen. And so that document will be reviewed by the Provost Council in, I think, the third Wednesday of September. Following that, we will make it available. But I think for those of you who are developing curriculum, I think you will find that this is a really excellent document that we have not had before. And as documents of this type, as we have them, they'll be updated because our curriculum process and our processes at the college are dynamic and iterative. So that will continue to move. Aligned with that, we are in the process of procuring a new online catalog process. With that goes a new curriculum management system that will eventually replace CurricuNet. And there's been a committee who really has spent a lot of hours looking at not only listening to vendors, but talking to the customers of vendors and listening to them. So that's exciting because this particular software that has been selected is aligned with our existing technology in Lucy and colleagues. So that's a really important step in the right direction. Along with that, in terms of another piece of software, we have a new, it's called a CRM or Customer Relations Management System, fancy way of saying, this is how we bring new students into this college. And it's called TargetX. And there is active training on the implementation of TargetX right now. And that also has a group working with it and has spent a great deal of time. But the way we bring new students into this college is important. How we communicate with them is important. How we keep track of them. And this new tool is going to help us to do that. I just want to tell you briefly about two meetings, and I'll say a word about enrollment. So this summer, we had a meeting with Simmons University. We are in the process of looking at implementing a pre-social work program, and that's developed by the chair in behavioral sciences, Latasha Sarpi. So Pam set up a meeting with the president of Simmons, my counterpart, and the dean who houses the social work program. And it really was an extraordinary meeting in this sense that they are very interested in working with us to have a seamless transfer from Bunker Hill to Simmons. And we talked about scholarships, and we talked about a lot of the pieces that are necessary. And this will really be very good. But we're going to be focusing more and more on this transfer initiative in a much broader ways, because we think it's really important for our students to be able to have that pathway. You'll be hearing more about pathways this morning as part of our HSI presentation. So that meeting was very important and very good. And one of the things they said to us, which was the dean, said, they were very happy that we approached them at this time as we were developing the program, not to bring a finished program to them, but to say, here's what we're developing now. How is it aligned and how are the issues? So that process is happening. And that's just one program, and I understand that, but I think it's a program where there are lots and lots of jobs and lots of opportunities. And through the research of Latasha Sarpi, that program, that whole area of social work needs much more diversity than it has. And we have a lot of diversity, obviously, with our student bodies. This is a really good opportunity, along with others. The other meeting that I want to mention is, again, Pam sent this up with the Chancellor of UMass Boston and my counterpart, the provost. And we had what I would call a very spirited meeting. And what is interesting to me is that the Chancellor is a community college graduate. And if you ever have the opportunity to meet him, you will see his enthusiasm. And we are looking at this, by the way, not looking like this course match this course. We are looking at programmatic transfer. If it's a liberal arts program, it's a business transfer program. And so it's more to be worked out, but all of us know here that many of our students go to UMass Boston. Part of that's geography. So we want to make it as simple as possible and as seamless as possible for our students to move from the pathway they began here at Bunker Hill over to UMass Boston or other places. Again, lots of more activity and transfer, and our transfer office and LifeMap is also very active with this work. So that's really those are exciting meetings from my perspective. Word about enrollment. So right now, as of the report you received yesterday, our enrollment's off about 7%. And that's less than it's been off in the past. So I always like to put as much of a positive spin on enrollment as I can, because we're all challenged by it. And, we're not unlike the rest of the community colleges in Massachusetts in terms of enrollment. But let me talk to you about one bright spot and one challenge. The bright spot is this. Our enrollment of new degree-seeking students is up just under 18%. We are bringing in 1,155 new degree-seeking students into this college this fall. And I think about that, and first thing I want to do is thank our enrollment services people for their hard work, and LifeMap and Student Central. And I also want to thank the work that's been going on in the divisions with faculty. We can all have our challenges about enrollment, but I think that particular piece about these new students, and I ask myself the question, what can we do to help this group of 1,155 students persist? We need to remember over 40% of the students who walk into this college are with first in their family to go to college. Think about what that experience might be like. Think about your own experience when you were an undergraduate and you were walking into many of them are not going to be walking into the institution. A percentage of them will, but they're managing that technology. And so we need to help as much as we can. The other side of the challenge is this. We have a group of students who are continuing degree seeking. That group, that number is off over 14%. It has been a continuing challenge for Bunker Hill Community College. And by the way, a continuing challenge for community colleges across the country. It isn't only for us, but bear in mind, that 14% represents over 4,000 students who started a program at Bunker Hill, matriculated, they did not graduate, they did not transfer. Now, we've had a lot of activities to reach out to these students, and we will continue to do so. And we have tremendous programs. We have, as I just mentioned, we have our Title V program, our HSI, Hispanic Serving Institution program grant. We have our Anapesi initiative, and I think that's about to receive an additional grant. We have our Hope initiative. We have our learning communities. We have many initiatives to help and support our students. But we need to make sure that we're doing that, because that's the part of the enrollment picture that's really a challenge for all of us. This isn't one office. This is all of us. So I send those few moments to you and thoughts that I have had over the summer. And let's try to make this the best year that we possibly can make it. I continue to, I'm beginning my 12th year here at Bunker Hill Community College, and I continue to really look forward to working with all of you in your teaching, your learning, the program development process, the many activities in which we are engaged. Continues to be a very exciting place to be, an exciting place to work. So let's really make this, continue to make this a wonderful academic year. And I thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for your leadership. I have had opportunities to work with Jim for my last 8 years, and the powerful way that he has led the conversation, and the way that he has uplifted our academic team, both the provost's office as well as our deans and our chairs and our faculty, and to offer the kind of steady support that is without drama, but always with progress. And I really do appreciate that. So now let me introduce the third member of the officers of the college. And when I refer to the officers of the college, I always mean me, Jim, and John, because we're the one who provide the support for everyone else at the college. When good things come, the credits are to all of you. And when bad things come, the three of us take responsibility. I bet John and Jim didn't know that. We're the ones who go to jail. Okay. But I go to jail for all of you. You all do amazing work. So John, let me turn this over to you, and if you can give us a sort of an overview about where we are.
Thank you, Pam. I think one of my jobs, as you mentioned, is to try to keep you out of jail and out of the globe. So we'll keep moving forward. First of all, just welcome everyone. And as Jim said, thank you all for the great effort that's been put forth to bring us to where we are in opening, which is successful, particularly since when we look back where we were 9 months ago. I want to get a special shout out to our maintainers, our grounds crew, our custodial staff, those fellows in the print shop and in the mail room who have been here throughout this pandemic, keeping this college ready to be opened. Who knew when? Our police officers, our security staff, always here. And I want to thank the frontline folks, particularly in Student Central, who have been here almost throughout the whole thing, and admissions, our assessment folks, and then since almost a month now, all of our frontline services for students are manned, and the folks are there helping the students who need help, who need the personalized service that we are known for. The other thing I just want to mention is that I have 3 things that we will talk about at some later date. First of all, there's the FY22 and FY23 budget. We're going to have a town hall sometime in October. Wassell and I have talked a little bit about that. Down to the summary, FY22 will be balanced. It will be a balanced budget. The forecast right now for FY23 is that also will be balanced. We won't go any further than that right now. We'll just leave it at that, and we'll talk about that at the town hall. The second thing I wanted to talk about was the HEM building update. HEM is the main project I think many of you are aware of. H being that when our lease runs out in the H complex, those folks will be coming back to campus. E is going to have significant renovations, which I think most of you know, and the M building is in there just because that's going to be torn down. For architectural purposes, we are calling it the N building for creatively new building. That will come up to something else later, I'm sure. That will also be part of this town hall. We'll make a presentation, so it'll be budget. You have to go through the exciting budget to get to the exciting building project. And so we'll be presenting that sometime in October and well. Just a quick update on that. The architectural finishes were reviewed by the Vice President's Council on Tuesday. And that's, as Pam mentioned, Jim, Pam, myself, Molly, Naomi, and Jeff. That was facilitated by Gary Bigelow with our NBBJ architects. By architectural finishes, I mean that we are moving out of the design phase now and heavily into construction documents, getting ready to bid. The finishes would be: what color are the walls going to be? What kind of carpeting are going to use? Where will there be wood? Where will there be tile, etc.? Those are all reviewed and accepted, and so this project is moving forward. We have some great renderings. So when we give this presentation in October, I think it'll be exciting. You can see yourself kind of walking through this new space and get a feel for the warmth and the places that are being carved out and dedicated just to student space. And that was one of the key elements of this project. I know Jim has been on that forever. We need more student space on this campus. Even with our enrollment down, we're still only made for 4,000 or 5,000 students. So we're at 10,000. So, the issue doesn't go away just because our enrollment has dropped a bit. And then the final thing that I want to talk about, number 3, is the Vision Project. That's the future of Bunker Hill as the buildings that we not in right now, but that our buildings become truly outdated, and what will the new Bunker Hill Community College look like. And we'll be rolling out some of those thoughts and some of those presentations later on this fall as well. So that's what I have, Pam. Things to come, and we'll work on that probably sometime in October. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, John. And thank you
So that's
for
good.
John and I have been together for 7 years too. Well, actually a little bit over 7 years. And John not only keeps us out of jail, well, he gets us close enough to be in jail in order to do some of the things that he is innovating at the college. But he always is within, he is always within the line of the law. And sometimes, the law doesn't always come with us when we do want to do things for students. And what has impressed me most about this last year, and it will continue as we go into this year, is how much resources we're able to send to students. We have been sending literally millions of dollars distributed to students through the good offices of Melissa and her team, and she's got a team surrounding her. And really, John's willingness to say, sure, that part is important. Let's do that. Let's forgive the debt for the fall. Let's go look at if we can forgive the debt for the spring. Let's bring the students back. It is a president's good fortune to have CFOs and CAOs, or the chief academic and the chief financial officer, and their teams to understand where the center of effort is. It is not the bottom line, but the students. And that is rare. I can tell you, I've seen lots of colleges, been through lots of places. We are unusual that we understand our center of effort. So thank you, John, with all that. Let me now turn the microphone over to my friend, Dr. Wissel Newcroft. And you know her as our forum moderator, the incredible moderation that she does that keeps us, all 300 of us, in line so that we get work done. And she is also the professor of business administration. So she wears many hats. And Wissel, welcome back. I haven't seen you. I'm so looking forward to seeing your face.
Are you seeing it right now?
Or there you
Hi.
are. I see you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I can't see myself, so I don't know if you can see me. So that's great. Oh, I can see myself right now. Good morning, Pam. Good morning, John and Jim and everyone. Excited to be here today with you. Very excited about a couple of things. First, I will be teaching next week for the first time on campus since March 2020. And I'm very excited to be on campus again. So that's great news. I'm also excited about meeting all of you and working with all of you with governance. So just a quick update. The college governance documents have transitioned from e-portfolio to board docs. Francis Jarvis has been very helpful in helping me with all of that and posting the minutes and posting the documents for the college forum and the videos. So thank you to her. Thank you to Francis Ngansa, who is the chair of the governance committee, for helping with that as well. A couple of you have reached out to me during the summer. You let me know about the fact that you are looking to move from one committee to another. Just to let you know, because elections now for the different committees happen at the division level. If you're interested in moving from one committee to another, you need to notify your dean. I will create the openings and I will send all the openings to the deans, and then the elections will happen at the division level, and then your deans will send me back the results. But you need to let know your deans if you're thinking about moving, stepping down, or changing your governance committee. If you are new, and I'm excited to see all the new names on the agenda. Welcome everyone, all the new faculty, staff, administrators. If you are new and you are interested in joining one of our governance committees and you need information, you just need to touch base with me, please reach out to me. You can either email me on my regular email, or I have also a moderator inbox. Reach out to me. We can schedule time to touch base. I can explain to you our governance structure. It'll be my pleasure to do that. And next week, I will be sending a welcome email. I will be including the board docs link that Pam just sent. I'll be also including the membership list, the most updated one. And I will be including my contact information and the college forum dates and the governance committee dates. So that way you can have all the information in one email. So again, very excited to see all of you, excited to be on campus next week. And I think I'm going to turn it either to Pam or to Molly. Thank you.
Actually, back to Pam. Thank you, Wissal. I'm so excited you're going to be on campus. I swear you and I are going to share a cup of tea, and I'll be sure to catch you. Oh, I'm so excited to see you. I'm going to actually, yeah, that's right. The agenda says I need to turn this over to Molly and to Kevin to introduce new and appointed faculty and professional staff and classified staff and administrators. But I'm actually going to take a second and literally no more than that to see if I can find Melissa Cologne. Melissa Cologne. Melissa, are you here? Do I see you?
I'm here.
Oh, there she is. So I want to do a shout out to Melissa Cologne. She is undertaking a sizable project for our college, and I just want to see that she's still sane.
Yeah.
And she hasn't run away to another country. Melissa is our planner for Chelsea. She is in the process of helping of leading a internal strategic planning process. It is really a subpart of our larger strategic planning for campus. So you're probably hearing from Melissa. She is running around trying to get folks into teams and into conversation. If she calls you or reaches out to you, please return the call and reach back to her. It is really important that we do this in a timely manner. We're trying to wrap this thing up, crossing fingers, at the end of the calendar year. Chelsea and the surrounding gateway cities is an amazing ecosystem for us, and a key ecosystem for the whole college. This is where a lot of the growth is going to be over the next decade. And what Melissa is really doing is helping us identify assets and identify where we can make an impact for students. So when Melissa calls, answer the phone. Thank you very, very much, Melissa. Yay. Okay, so that was that shout out. So I'm going to turn this over to Molly Ambrose. Molly, are you around? There she goes. And Kevin? Or is Kevin sort of in the cyberspace waiting? I guess in the cyberspace waiting. For those of you, I'm trying to explain organization a little bit. So Molly, Jeff Ginsberg, Naomi Carlisle, plus the 3 officers of the college makes up our Vice President Council. We meet every Tuesday morning. Those meetings are right after the senior staff meeting. And it is probably the most exciting hour and a half to 2 hours of my life every week. And I want to define excitement um, by giving you the image of a roller coaster. That moment when you raise your hand and everything drops and then it stabilizes, that's kind of the dynamics of what happens for 2 hours every week. So I want to thank Molly and Naomi and Jeff and my three officer colleagues for giving me that experience every single week. So Molly, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pam, and good morning, everybody. I just love Convocation. It's just my favorite celebration of the entire year at the college. As some of you may have heard me say in the past, commencement is about students, but Convocation is about us, and that's what makes it really special. So every fall, we introduce the faculty and staff who have joined the BHCC community or are in new positions since last May. We picked the date of the last college forum because we introduce people throughout the year. So here we take really seriously the responsibility for selecting new staff and faculty to join our community. A great deal of time and thought goes into this activity. And before I turn this over to the voice of Kevin Weary, I want to extend a word of appreciation to everybody who participated in the search process that produced this wonderful group of new faculty and staff. Search committee members and chairs, supervisors and managers, VP council, and so on and so on. I also wanted to give my personal thanks to the staff of the Human Resources Office who worked so diligently with committee members and applicants to ensure that the right people are in the right place at the right time for the good of Bunker Hill Community College. It's the combined efforts of all of these people that have resulted in this group of new faculty and staff that will be introduced to you this morning. And I hope that during the next few days and weeks, you will reach out to these new folks, either virtually or in person if you're lucky enough to be on campus, and give them a warm BHCC welcome. We need every single person to be part of our community, and it's hard sometimes to become attached when you're just a Hollywood square. So now, the next voice you hear will be Kevin Weary.
Bunker Hill Community College, Convocation 2021. New hires and appointments. New faculty: Kristen Callahan, Associate Professor, Business Administration Department. Diana C. Galvez, Assistant Professor, Nurse Education Department. Catherine Mattia, Assistant Professor, Nurse Education Department. Donica O'Malley, PhD, Assistant Professor, Communication Department. Dipal Patel, Assistant Professor, Nurse Education Department. Patricia Pierce, Assistant Professor, Nurse Education Department. Jorge A. Rubio, Assistant Professor, Performing Arts Department. Jennifer T. Sherman, Assistant Professor, Business Administration Department. Lauren E. Staubel, Assistant Professor, Early Childhood Education Department. New professional staff: Julia Blackburn, Special Program Coordinator, Admissions and Recruitment. Latia Johnson, Rapid Reemployment Workforce Training Initiative Coordinator, Workforce and Economic Development. Vanessa C. Pacheco, Adult Education Instructor, Special Programs Coordinator, Workforce and Economic Development. Jane D. Stimpson, Instruction and Research Librarian, Library and Learning Commons. New appointments: Professional staff: Jeremy Patty, Admissions Pathway Counselor, Admissions and Recruitment. Keisha B. Taylor, EDD, Coordinator of Student Assessment, Testing Services and Admissions. Jill A. Yadav, Admissions Pathway Counselor, Admissions and Recruitment. New administrators: Tyler Hilbert, Manager of Enrollment Technology and Data Analytics, Enrollment Management and LifeMap. Vanessa C. Lewis, Digital Content Specialist, Communications and Digital Content. Sue Park, Assistant Dean of Academic Affairs, Humanities and Learning Communities. Franklin E. Taylor, EDD, Associate Provost, Charlestown, Academic and Student Affairs. New appointments: administrators. Anthony F. Cabuccio, Manager, Central Services. Jennifer Cochio Thompson, Senior Director, Nurse Education Department. Alicia A. Doyley, PhD, Interim Dean, Enrollment Management and LifeMap. Evan Zarilis, Interim Director, Hope Initiative, Academic Support and College Pathway Program. Zeta V. Ismatul, Interim Assistant Director for Dual Enrollment and Early College Program, Chelsea High School, Academic Support and College Pathway Programs. Handine Jean-Marie, Assistant Dean, Professional Studies. Grace Ma, Associate Dean, Online Learning and Instructional Innovation. Susan G. Martin, Interim Registrar, Academic Records. New classified staff: Courtney Ingersoll, Clerk 6, Student Central. Tanzin Nodub, Accountant 3, Business Office. Robert D. Sanders, Clerk 6, Student Central. New appointments: classified staff. Matthew Gomes, EDP Systems Analyst 1, Academic Innovation and Instructional Design.
Thank you, Kevin. And thank you, Molly. And congratulations to all of you who are new with us and those of you who have taken up new positions. We love to see that growth and that expansion. And I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful semester and feel the hugs. We usually at this point go around hugging everybody, but you know, just feel the hugs.
If I could, one quick second, I just want to introduce Jane Stimson, who is also a new hire to the college. And
Oh, yes, please. Yes, please. So say the name again and tell us where Tenzin is working.
Sure. Jane is our new library coordinator for research and instruction. And she started back in July. It feels like it's longer and in a very, very cool way. So I just wanted to welcome Jane.
Oh, welcome, Jane. I hope that we'll get to see you and meet you at some point. But welcome to the family. Thank you, Oscar, for bringing Jane to us. Okay, so we are at the point where I would love. Am I introducing our student leadership, or is Julie or Will doing leadership introduction? I'm happy to do it. Okay.
Go ahead. I'm on the list for it, but go ahead, Pam.
Oh, you are, Jim? Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay. Just before I introduce new student leaders, I also want to just send a thank you out to Molly Ambrose, and all of the HR staff. I spent a lot of time this summer doing interviews. We were trying to get as many of these individuals in. And I know they really struggled with scheduling and all of the things. I just want you to know that we brought in a lot of new people this summer. And at the end of the spring semester, I really do appreciate the work that the HR department does, and I know it's difficult with schedules. So, just a big thank you from me and from the Office of the Provost. So, next, I have the opportunity to introduce our new student leaders. And the first one I would like to introduce is our Student Government Association President, Chase Baker. Chase? Is Chase here?
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I'm activating my video. Hopefully everyone can see me. I'm out here in Somerville, and I want to thank everyone for having me at this meeting and just the opportunity to serve this community, this diverse community, as a second-year student here. I think I've grown a lot in my first year through this virtual world, and I hope to continue to share a lot of those knowledge and resources to the rest of the community. But I've got Will over here sharing his screen. I want to introduce everybody that is part of the officers team. And I believe, is Robert here?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Hi, Robert. Yeah, so I'm going to call on you because you're at the top of the page right now. So if you don't mind just giving everyone a brief little biography about you. Robert is the student trustee, and he'll be working with the board of trustees, which I think is a great position. And Robert, if you want to share anything about you, and then we'll just turn it back over to myself, and I'll continue on down the list.
Sure. Obviously, as you can see, my name is Robert. I'm a computer science student. This is my fifth semester here at Bunker Hill. Um, don't really have much more than that. Just some brief goals is to bring student voices to the table so that we can make sure everyone's on the same page as we transition to whatever the post-COVID world has to offer. And also to be a resource to both faculty and students whenever I can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robert. So I also want to preface that I'm going to go through this list of everybody. Some people have given me a short little bio, and then at the end, I will share some of our inclusive goals, of course. And also, I've also had the privilege of being able to meet with majority of the officers on a one-on-one conversation about their own personal interests and goals, and to try to find that happy medium to align what they're interested in doing, and of course, making sure to keep in mind the student body's voices. So I'll continue with myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Chase Baker. I am the SGA president. I'm a second-year student studying computer science. I am interested in automation and AI. This passion has come from my hobbies in sneaker reselling and cryptocurrencies. And I've chosen automation and AI because I believe it has a lot of power to solve a lot of society's problems in the coming years. And next, we have the VP of Administration, Jung Shen. Jung is a lifelong Boston resident and a community organizer. He's a second-year history and government major. In the future, he hopes to pursue a law degree and leverage it to further his goal of community empowerment, where he can get some spare time in. When he can get some spare time in, he enjoys reading and playing his ukulele. Next, we have Christina. Christina is an international student from Venezuela. She's also a computer science major. Likes exploring new ways to study and definitely hopes to graduate in the summer of 2022. Christina likes to read, listen to music, and likes to travel. Next, we have Zulika, the student affairs position. But she is a liberal arts major, and after having a great conversation on one-on-one with her, she is also very passionate about student disabilities. She has two younger sons that have some neurodiversity, and she is a huge activist. She is pretty well known in the schools, in I believe Malden school system, and she hopes to finish up her liberal arts degree and move on to art therapy. Next, I have Miranda as the VP of Human Resources. Miranda is a liberal arts major, and I know she will be an extremely helpful benefit to helping us fill the rest of the roles here in the officers table and find more student leaders. Next, we have Serena. Serena is a finance major. She is also our communications department in the SGA. She is finding a great balance of blending communications, social media, and finances to help her out later in her educational goals. Next, we have our executive secretary, Sofoni. Sofoni is a first-generation college student who dreams of becoming a doctor. She is majoring in biological sciences, and she loves to journal and find new quotes. And as you can see, as we go down here, we've got a couple of open positions. One of our senator at large is Han. Han is a business student. She is passionate about the dynamic global business industry and multicultural issues. Her goals are to improve personal development and continually acquire knowledge and experience in the business. She is always trying to make positive impacts and keep moving forward. And she loves to do community activities, go camping, and walk in nature. And if we keep scrolling down, we should have Nikki. I haven't mentioned Nikki. She's there, or maybe there she's Nikki. There's Nikki. We've got Nikki. Nikki is a history and government and biology major who is the senator at large position in SGA. She enjoys singing and playing various instruments like guitar, piano, ukulele, and the cello. Nikki hopes to be an advocate for educational equality and help others succeed in her footsteps. So those are everybody from the officers board. Of course, we're missing a few seats, so we are always looking for more candidates that are looking to take on that leadership role, that have ideas and are passionate to help others. And by passing on what we've learned, I think it allows us to go further. In terms of SGA, our goals are to continue to listen to student voices by maintaining office hours from every officer so that students feel the doors open to being heard and to share their own struggles. From my conversation with everybody over the summer, we have recognized that the student body is extremely diverse, from international students to all of the greater Boston locals. And we have identified a few points, not to say all the points, of improvement, such as technology constraints and tutoring support services for some of these students in different areas and different work hours. One of the biggest things is that not everyone does some people may have a normal 9 to 5 job while juggling school. So we want to do our best to cater to help them further their education and their progression in life. Additionally, we want to continue to share success testimonies from alumni, teachers, and additionally shine the light on some resources like Hope and Aid through the continuation of the SGA podcast. And furthermore, we also believe that Dish has been a huge resource in and is extremely beneficial for students to have a clear and open mind to focus and learn. Hunger is one of those things that is at the very base of our survival, and to be able to focus and understand and absorb new knowledge, those basic needs have to be met. And I really appreciate everything that Molly does over there. I have been a receiver of her services. Um, and lastly, this could be a lot of things, a lot of goals on the agenda, and seems like a lot of things to tackle at the end of the day, as we're all just college students, still juggling homework and tests and essays. But I believe this is all possible and can be achieved through what I've learned in my group psychology class, which is, I would put it as officer bonding, team bonding, right? So the more we are able to build rapport between each other and have great conversations with education involved and outside activities, I believe everybody on the team can be able to balance the additional responsibilities we are taking on to help the student body. And I also want to give a shout out to Will and Julie Elkins for their hard support, and our new support from where is his name? Just met him. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm gonna end it there. I'm gonna when I remember, I will come back to that. But Franklin, yes, it's Franklin. Thank you, Pam, and Franklin for meeting him. Um, and also shout out to Tammy Key. She kind of gave me the big inspiration last year on my first semester back to be able to take up a leadership role and find my inner voice to make an impact greater beyond myself and my own personal goals. So from that, I will turn the table back to everybody. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chase. That was a really excellent presentation of all of the student leaders. It's great to learn a little bit more about our student leaders and what they bring to the college. And I would say to you that I would hope that during the semester we would have an opportunity in my office to meet with you and to meet with some of the other student leaders. I'd like to hear more. You talked about having office hours for students. I'd like to hear more about our students, what they're thinking about, what their ideas are, and what their needs are. And I think that's very important for the Office of the Provost to be able to do that. So really, thank you for taking the time this morning. I really appreciate it, and welcome all of the student leaders. And we appreciate the time you're devoting to this task. Student leadership is a very important part of the college, but it's also important, you'll look back on it, it's also an important part of your education and your learning. You will learn a great deal from this role. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, so we are at the point of our program, and we are maybe we're about 10 minutes off time, but we're close. So next part of our program is our guest speaker. And to introduce our guest speaker, we have our Associate Provost from the Chelsea campus, Dr. Alice Murillo. Now, she is very engaged, obviously, in the Chelsea community, with the school district, with the city manager's office, with the Chamber of Commerce, and we have a strong presence over there in Chelsea. But Alice is also the principal investigator for the Title V Hispanic Serving Institution grant, and she is providing significant college leadership on pulling that grant together. And I think we're going into our second year, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to give a shout out, first of all, to thank Alice for her leadership. And I'm going to turn the program over to you, Alice, to introduce our guest speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yes, we are behind 10 minutes, but we've accounted for that. We figured that would happen. So we're set to do exactly what we planned to do anyway. First of all, welcome everyone. It's exciting to see so many of you in attendance to hear our remarkable speaker, Dr. Cecilia Rios Aguilar, who I will introduce shortly, but I want to give you some context before I introduce her. At last year's convocation, Dr. Edinger announced the receipt of our very first grant award from the Hispanic Serving Institutions for $3 million over 5 years. The key project goals include increasing persistence through integrated student support framed by guided pathways, to increase student achievement and retention through enhanced teaching and learning within a framework of equity and cultural wealth, and to increase 3-year graduation rates through implementation of pathways to success. During this past year, multiple college faculty and staff teams have worked arduously on the grant activities, such as what Dr. Caniff mentioned, the selection and implementation of Target X, and also the naming confirmation of our 6 guided pathways. They have also spent lots of time in developing context on the student experience that needs to be understood, defined, and thoughtfully designed to help our students be successful. Today, you will all have an opportunity to be engaged in the same kind of conversation with our keynote speaker. Today's presentation is right on time and right on target for where we are in our grant work. It will provide you with an opportunity to cultivate, as described by our speaker, to cultivate and deepen equity-centered pedagogical practices and institutional strategies to better serve today's students, particularly African American and Latinx students. It utilizes asset-based frameworks to challenge existing assumptions about how our students, particularly our low-income students of color, how they make decisions about majors, about careers and jobs, and to help us rethink institutional practices and strategies that can more effectively move students successfully in their classrooms and beyond. Our distinguished speaker, Dr. Cecilia Rios Aguilar, is Professor of Education and Associate Dean of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion at UCLA School of Education and Information Studies. Currently, she also serves as a faculty co-director of Policy Analysis of California Education, acronym PACE. She's also a board member of the Spencer Foundation and as a research affiliate at Wheelhouse, the Center for the Community College Leadership and Research at the University of California, Davis. She is also past director of the Higher Education Research Institute at UCLA. Her research is multidisciplinary and uses a variety of asset-based conceptual frameworks. These include funds of knowledge, community cultural wealth, and the forms of capital. It also uses statistical approaches such as econometric and multi-level models, spatial analysis and GIS, and social network analysis to study the educational and occupational trajectories of our marginalized students. Dr. Rio Aguilar's 2011 to 2014 research project titled Getting Connected, Harnessing the Power of Social Media to Enhance Community College Student Success was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This project explored the use of social media technology to connect and engage community college students in ways that improve success outcomes. Currently, she is examining how community college students make decisions about majors, jobs, and careers, and the impact of strategic nudges to help community college students navigate the financial aid process. Her latest co-edited book, published by Routledge, is called Funds of Knowledge in Higher Education, Honoring Students' Cultural Experiences and Resources as Strengths, refines and builds on the concept of funds of knowledge in a sophisticated and multidisciplinary way to examine issues related to access and transition to college, college persistence and success, and Pedagogies in Higher Education. This presentation couldn't be more better matched to what we're currently doing with our Title V grant. Dr. Rios Aguilar obtained her PhD in Education Theory and Policy from the University of Rochester, her MS in Educational Administration from the University of Rochester, and her BA in Economics from the prestigious Instituto Tecnológico Autónomo de México. It is my pleasure to welcome our convocation speaker, Dr. Rios Aguilar. Welcome, Cecilia.
Good morning. It is my honor and my pleasure to be here with you. I'm just going to start sharing my screen so that you can, maybe it can guide us this morning in our presentation. But like I said before, it is an honor and a privilege to be with you this morning. I call this Bunker Hill Community College Familia because that's exactly what you've been making us feel, making me even feel. I've been listening since early in the morning. It is very early here in California, but nonetheless, I'm extremely excited to be here and to share with you some of the things that I've been learning, we've been learning, me and my research team, as we do this research right now, centering really on student decision-making and how community colleges can transform themselves and center racial equity. So I know I'm the faculty member, right? So I could talk forever and ever. If you give me the space and the permission, I could do that. But we're here just because we want to provide a framework. And I want us to probably take away just 4 things, right? I want to talk about community colleges in this moment in particular. It's very different, I think, centering this moment. I want to talk about the frameworks that guide the work we do and the work that I hope you engage in. I want to ask ourselves, what do our students need in this moment? Again, we live in a very, very specific moment in our lives where we need to ask ourselves this question, especially in convocation. And what I hope you get from this is some institutional strategies, and particularly to center racial equity and how we can do that. So I just want to really spark your creativity, your imagination this week as what can Bunker Hill do to center students' assets and lived experiences. Now, I want to talk about the national context in which we are situated right now. I've been hearing since the morning, your administration has been sharing the not so good news and sometimes hopeful news. So I want to talk about that in very briefly, just to center our conversation. I call it complex and contradicting because that's how I feel every time I go to a community college. This is what I hear. We hear the new reports, right, from the National Student Clearinghouse. Enrollments are down. This is where every community college that I work with, that I have the pleasure to be in contact with, this is what they tell me. And I just put here some figures so we know the extent of what's happening nationally, not just in California, not just in Massachusetts, but across the country. We know that the graduate enrollment went down, but particularly community colleges were the ones suffering the huge losses, and particularly men, part-time students, students of color, significantly affected by this enrollment. Persistence and retention, unfortunately, is also down. And this is, again, the new statistics provided by the National Student Clearinghouse. Retention, steepest persistence rate decline for community colleges. Retention declines mostly in the community college sector. And again, students of particular subgroups that were already vulnerable and underserved continue to get the biggest, continue to experience the biggest drops in persistence and retention, among of them Latinx students. Again, these are statistics that we'll have in our head sometimes that remind us where we are. But I also hear a different discourse. And I also see that there's some hope and some light, right? The Jobs for the Future Foundation or organization came up with this report that says 5 reasons why community colleges are key to economic recovery. You guys are amazing. I have done such amazing work. And I want to challenge all of those who do not understand what community colleges are about to really, really take a deep moment to think about the extraordinary work, not that has happened just since the pandemic erupted, but for many, many years. You guys have been serving the most students of color, low income, with the least amount of resources. There's not only importance in recovering, the community colleges are not important for economic recovery, but also if we want to make an equitable one, right? That's why community colleges are so important. That's why you are so important. I had this access to this new report from Strata that says investing now in community colleges is essential. And look at these statistics, colleagues. Look at it. It says 20.5 million adults are planning to enroll, are intending to enroll in community college in the next 2 years. So our role is how do we mobilize that thought of, I may see myself in college, to actual enrollment? How can we mobilize students so they can actually come to Bunker Hill? Of course, we have to recognize too where we are. We are still in the middle of a pandemic. The Hope Center just released this report recently about students actually, how many college students actually contracted the virus and the consequences of that. Not only there's high levels of anxiety, depression, food and housing insecurity, but again, a lot of our students experience or have contact with the virus that can physically have some long-term consequences. And I would invite you to read the report. But what's not in the report is talks about the loss of life. And how do we as humans process that? All of us probably have met somebody that lost their life due to the coronavirus. And it's been hard, and we don't talk about that in our educational spaces. So let's be mindful. And my invitation is colleges, we must be prepared for those things. Of course, for the physical aspects of our students who have been infected, but also to process, like I said, learn to process loss. Now, I want to center our conversation, right, on guided pathways and why is there this national reform. This has been presented as a national effort to address some of those pressing issues that existed since before the pandemic, which were low persistence and low completion in community colleges. You know, a lot of the work coming from our colleagues at the Community College Research Center who centered this piece. I feel there's a lot of national, news about degree programs being too complicated, designs that are derailing students. This is what you see in some media outlets, foundations that are putting a lot of money into curricular coherence and even analytics, right? Even companies coming and selling us products that says, let's make this process easier for students, and let's visualize this and create some tools. I think this is important to have in mind as a context, but we are here because I sense this is Bunker Hill's moment to center racial equity and students' lived experiences to transform itself. So yes, while there is this national proposal that's been presented in front of us and that a lot of colleges have taken to some degree, we have to localize it. We have to make sure that whatever you're doing makes sense for your students, for their lives, and for your faculty and staff's lives as well. I want to offer some thinking, some frameworks around the work that I've been doing, that my colleagues have been doing, and that we have in our minds as we collect data about students, as we work with institutions to help them think how to localize their guided pathways initiatives. There's three particular frameworks that I want to talk about today. One is this fabulous book by my colleague Rebecca Cox. It's called The College Fear Factor. The second is the work of my colleague Mike Rose, who it's been hard, colleagues, here because we lost him a couple of weeks ago, and it's still difficult to to talk about his work and not think about all those conversations that we had about community college students and the opportunities that were afforded to these students. But I'm going to honor him and pass the legacy and talk about his work and how that's transformed me personally, but also the students I work with. And of course, my work on fonts of knowledge, which I've worked for a very long time, and how that can be applied concretely into classrooms and practices that we engage in. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into these frameworks, if you allow me. As I said, I'm the faculty member, so I have to teach every time I go. This book, colleagues, a very powerful ethnography. Again, centered in community colleges, not in four-year institutions, not in privileged settings, centered in community college classrooms, where my colleague observed this phenomenon of students, low-income students of color, are trying to adapt to the new role of being a college student, and the high risk adventure and the uncertainty that that brings to students. And to some students, this fear of failing, which is natural to all of us, to no matter what role we take. Students are going to defend themselves against that. They're going to manage their fear in some ways. And they do it in very concrete ways. They may postpone matriculation. They may scale down their goals. They may avoid assessment. And we see that constantly in they don't participate in class. They don't submit homework. And they redefine their success. They start telling themselves stories about why they didn't succeed. And again, these are responses that are come out of fear, not out of students not being able to do this. Is the result of fear. And I like the title, the other title of the book, right? The second part is how we misunderstand each other as faculty. Because as faculty, we may interpret the lack of participation or the lack of, as they don't want to do it, they're busy, they're distracted, right? We give ourselves to an explanation for their management of fear. So something to keep in mind, colleagues. The other is again the work of Mike Rose. That particular book, Lives on the Boundary, reminding us, faculty and administrators and staff, of the intellectual work that students do, regardless of where they come from, who they are, and what job they have, right? And one particular piece that Mike wrote not too long ago when guided pathways emerged in the literature was this very specific quote that I want to read to you. It says, still, like all structural remedies, this one runs the risk of reducing nuance and layer human dilemmas to a technical problem, and thus being unresponsive to or missing entirely the particular life circumstances of students. So yes, make the curriculum more coherent, but realize that other human and material resources will also be needed to meet the needs of many students. And as well, build into your structural changes the flexibility needed to honor the range of life circumstances your students bring to college. Otherwise, the fix may create unintended negative consequences, right? So I want us to think about that and to have clear that, well, again, curriculum coherence might be important, and I'm not saying it's not, but there's so many other things that we're not doing because they're not tangible. We can see them. And this is, again, honoring the range of circumstances of our students and building on their assets and wealths. I know my colleague Tara Yoso came to talk to you recently too about the wealth that students bring. So I'm going to continue with that theme. I call it fonts of knowledge, right? She calls it community cultural well. I use the term fonts of knowledge because that's the framework I learned in my grad school. I worked very hard to really honor this concept and to really try to understand the resources that students bring. This is a concept that came in the K through 12 sector. I've been trying to export it with my colleagues to higher education. And today, colleagues, I want to bring this proposition to you that it is not, in the context of K through 12 has been, let's rescue the knowledge and the funds that are embedded in families, in just because families live and have a lot of disciplinary context that is available in what they do, I'm arguing lately that workplaces offer us exactly that possibility. Think about the amount of time students spend in their workplaces. They have gathered amazing amount of skills and resources that we could use in the classroom if we care to document them. I'm going to provide a little bit more information about that. So I'm going to go right now. I want you to think about the following. I'm going to use the four pillars of guided pathways. Right? There's four pillars. I made the model pretty simple. But what I want us to think about today, and the way I want to challenge you, is in thinking about three things: mitos, realidades, y posibilidades. Means myths, realities, and possibilities, right? The first pillar, clarify the path, right? It says having a clear, clarity. I've seen a lot of people mapping, right? Course mapping and investment, a lot of resources into making sure that when students see something that shows clearly what courses they need to take. And we've been assuming, colleagues, the myth is less options are better for students, right? Let's move from 250 programs to maybe 5 or 6 buckets, right? I call this rebucketing, right? I've been in so many meetings, colleagues, with community colleges discussing spending endless times deciding whether welding fits in the STEM bucket or somewhere else, right? Endless time talking about what that means. But the reality, colleagues, lived experiences from students tell us, and conversation, is that course enjoyment is the most important factor when they consider about deciding what major to pursue. What does that mean, course enjoyment? It means concretely beliefs, perceptions, whether I'm going to like my class, whether I think I'm going to be good at it. It means also my expectations, whether it fills my expectations in terms of the career or the job I want to have. It means also that maybe my satisfaction or my perception or my belief that I can maybe do some altruistic thing or fulfill altruistic goals with it. I call attention here to what a lot of students, Latinx in particular, tell me. I want to help others. This is a theme that comes no matter where I go. The students from very different backgrounds, racial, ethnic minorities particularly, they want to help others. So deciding about a major, rebucketing, reducing the number, the set of choices from 15 to 5, is not going to reduce that complexity. Students are trying to find themselves and who they are in these paths, right? And we have new evidence from my colleague, Rachel Baker. She was at UCI, she's going to be moving at UPenn, that rebucketing into smaller chunks does not simplify the choice. It actually may hurt students of color, right? So think about that. So what I want to propose to you, the posibilidades is, let's simplify the path, but to obtain services and support. Let's reorganize ourselves so that it is so crystal clear where do you have to go and what do you have to do in order to get the help that you need. There was mentioning of my former dean, who I miss tremendously, your new chancellor of the UMass Boston. Yes, he hired me and I miss him tremendously. But I know if we come to Marcelo with a different proposal to say, let's examine course taking patterns to reduce bureaucracy, to make transfer seamless to students. There's a colleague of mine at Berkeley, Zach Pardos, working exactly on this, using the whole, gamut of algorithms and fancy sophisticated stuff to make sure that there's no redundancy in courses. So let's position our students to succeed, but let us put the onus on the students to have to figure things out, right? It's up to us, colleagues. And my last thing is describing those paths in a way that connects to the lives and the experiences of students of color. I won't forget, recently I went to do an observation to a community college, to a center that supports students, and this high school student first generation college student was, sitting with the coach, having a conversation, and the coach is reading the buckets, right? Where do you want to, right? The first day he's there, he has to sign, like choose a bucket, and the coach is reading the options, and he asks, "What's STEM? What do STEMs mean?" Like, I don't know. So again, we have defined buckets in terms that are foreign to our students. So maybe we could create a bucket helping others. I want to work with others. I want to better my community. That's the way we need to rethink about this organization, not about how many courses we need to fill. Students are not connecting who they are to those paths. Pillar 2, get them on the path, okay? And the assumption again is that first moment, imagine that student coming to us, that first moment, they have the best information to make the decision right there, in this spot, right? Colleagues, students have chosen their jobs from a very long time, a while ago. They have their own ideas of what they want to become, who they want to become, and they're very anxious. Then they sense, they know, they're wise, very wise. They know that this decision of which box they feel comes with a lot of, it's a high stakes decision. So it comes for them with a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty. They don't want to make mistakes, colleagues. They fear, again, connecting to Becky's work, it is very difficult to make a decision under those circumstances. Not only they fear, they don't want to make mistakes, but also they expressed to us recently a sense of urgency. I need to become someone fast for me, for my family, and for my communities. They depend on me. They depend on me. And that way that they carry is heavy, colleagues. Is very heavy. I want you to think about that. And the other piece, we've been, Guided Pathways was built on these economic models, rational choice thinking. Yes, students are calculating cost and benefits. Of course, they're doing that. But as my colleague Jennifer Merton, I have to clarify, Merton, sorry. She's a philosopher. She wrote a book recently, a beautiful book about how low-income first generation students of color think about higher education and mobility. She talks about the ethical costs that students think about when they're making their decisions. And again, it's not just a monetary, let me think about the time, the salary, the ethical cost, colleagues. Am I going to be able to talk to my grandma again? And I'm going to miss being part of my community, broken ties with my community. Those are the things, the ethical choices that students are making as part of thinking of which path, going to college, not going to college, should I stop, not, how do I do college? So I say, as possibilities, colleagues, draw from their lived experiences. Again, help them explore, exploration, right? Let's reduce the anxiety that you have to choose now and you have to stick with it. And if you don't, then there's a lot of consequences, not good ones, by the way, right? Exploration, colleagues. A lot of Latinos don't know how to help others. How does that look like in different fields? In nursing, in computing, in medicine, in not the traditional fields, but what does that mean in different disciplines? We need to start talking about coding and coding, designing for communities of color, and what could that look like, right, for our students. Ask them to make connections between what they bring, their assets, and their goals and what programs are being offered at Bunker Hill. Again, having very different types of conversations with our students. Ask them how they feel. If Bunker Hill adheres to its values, to its commitments, what would that feel like to be included, cared for? Ask it to describe you for them, right? Ask them to describe you what that college experience would look like, and then design around that. But pillar 3, help them stay on the path, right? And again, a lot of assumptions assume that all students have access to the same resources and opportunities. We heard the student leadership, that 9 to 5 dilemma. Not everybody's in that scale. And sometimes it ignores systemic barriers of that students fails while trying to be college students, right? Cost of attendance, a lot of housing insecurity, food insecurity, right? The realities, classrooms, colleagues are essential in this piece. They come to college, they show up in class, right? Their identities, their sense of belonging matter. Math continues to be a huge barrier. A lot of students tell me, I want to do X, Y, and Z, everything that has nothing to do with math. So therefore, they're again, the narrowing of possibilities that we, I think, as a college need to help them expand and see, right? But of course, to provide them with the supports that they need. The possibilities that I see, providing local labor market data, local colleagues, local. A lot of the discourse is, oh, that we're going to need so many engineers and the country. Students are very disconnected from those large companies. They don't see themselves. All they know is their context, is that the tío, the comadre, they have lost their jobs. So help them understand local labor market data and possibilities, exploration again. Use their work histories. Like I said before, we're missing such an important opportunity to learn about who our students are. Like imagine if we could, from the get-go in enrollment, collect all the jobs they have, and then let's go and find the skills associated with that and make a different value proposition to our students. Look how you came. You're here to diversify your skills, to get to a whole nother level, but let's make a different value proposition. Help them connect to others like them who have made it. Among yourselves, colleagues, you have so many staff and faculty who have gone through similar journeys. Use their navigational capital, as my colleague Tara Yoso would say. Use that, bring it to the students, help them see that it is possible to get where they are. Use faculty and staff journeys to connect with students. Talk about different things like failure, like mistakes, like things that will connect to students. I like this pillar the most, but unfortunately, this is the one that we spend the least amount of time on. I've seen many meetings where we're so worried about the maps and making sure the buckets are really nicely and neatly connected and providing services, yes, to students, but again, ensuring that students are learning colleagues. What does that mean? What does that look like? It assumes that good teaching and asset-based pedagogy are available, and it assumes that colleges care about teaching and learning by measuring it systematically and meaningfully. The reality, colleagues, I have never met a student who comes tells me they don't want to learn. They come and they love learning. Love learning. That's the word they use. I love learning. That's why I enrolled. That's why I'm here. Again, possibilities with students. Collect data on who they are. Use it to make pedagogical innovations. That's what I've been trying to do in my own work and help faculty see that just by connecting and talking one day about how we got to where we got in our career, and again, starting to talk to each other more about how could we do this together, engaging in curricular reform, again, helping students see who they are in what we teach, right? Otherwise, it's not going to happen. They're going to feel alienated, removed, and remember their sense of belonging matters if we want to keep them and help them move forward with their trajectories. What do our students need in this moment, colleagues? I recently was looking at social media and Facebook and whatnot, and I read this quote. Don't quote me; it's not mine, but it says, "At this moment, our students need us to prioritize their humanity versus content." Right now, their humanity matters most. And that's why I like to connect with the work of my dear esteemed colleague, Mike Rose, because he talked about that humanity, that range of circumstances. And that connects to my work of Funds of Knowledge, that no matter who we are, we bring something to the table. right? What we've done matters, no matter if you've been serving in McDonald's or working as a nanny, taking care of kids in your home country, no matter what your accent, we all bring something to the table. And our students need us to recognize that humanity, right? So let me put it more concretely to you. What do students need? Access to local labor market data and know-how, procedural knowledge, talking about the hidden things that we had to go through in order to get a job or an interview, or that's stated in the curriculum, but that they don't see, that you get asked. They need differentiated career guidance and exploration, as I said, exploration opportunities. They need to know that they can switch, that it can change, that it's okay to do that. I don't know if you noticed, but 4-year students are allowed to explore and choose, and we've set up infrastructure for students here at UCLA so that they can do and come. But then all of a sudden, that's not okay for community college students. Why is that? Why is that we keep imposing these models that have worked very well for 4-year institutions to community college students and faculty and to you? Let's challenge that, colleagues, because it's not helping us. Student needs guidance into classrooms, contextualized disciplinary learning. Like I said, they bring so much from their work experiences, from their homes. And I love the way you guys started this morning with that land acknowledgement. I've been trying to think about how to write about fonts of indigenous knowledge, and so much that we have to learn from our colleagues as to what does it mean to go to college. It's a we, it's a collectivity. It's not I go to college and I am an adult independent learner. That is a myth, colleagues. That is a myth that has ingrained in us. But our students of color think of the we. We go to college. We, as I mean, they're carrying their families, their communities with themselves. Opportunities to explore and cultivate their sociopolitical development across career field is not just helping others, is eradicating racism, is bringing down systemic barriers. That's what they want to do. How can we help them do that in biology, in chemistry, in accounting, in business? Why can we talk about those things in class? What does it mean to be a Latina walking the streets of Boston nowadays? And how does that connect with what they're learning in the classroom? That's what we need, colleagues. That's what we need help, is to see that they need all these in order to be able to succeed. But also, like I put down there, emotional and psychological support to navigate the stress, the anxiety, the uncertainty that they report feeling through these major choices. It's very hard for them, colleagues. It's a very difficult moment that they're living in. What's my proposition to you? My proposition to you is that you have to build an alternative institutional model that emphasizes relationship building, care, confianza, respeto, empathy, authenticity. People learning is relational. Decision making is relational. Transformation is relational. And college success is relational. You guys have to talk more to each other. You cannot wait for others, right, like me, to come tell you what to do. I don't like cooking recipes. I don't have a model. I refuse to tell people what to do. I want us to figure it out together, sure, but you guys need to talk to each other, right? We need to have faculty meetings where we emphasize learning and teaching again, where we spend most of our time looking at each other and asking, what have you done, colleague, lately that works? When have you failed? What do you think we can do better? Students need identity-informed and asset-based pedagogies, and what I call a college navigator. Give them the GPS, give them the know-how, the procedural knowledge that they need to navigate college, financial aid. I mean, I can talk about many things. I've learned so much about verification processes. I wish I didn't know that, but this is what our students have to go through, colleagues. And I wanna end with this idea of that students need mobility knowledge, which means labor market data, concrete strategies. So I read recently this paper by a sociologist, Hill, and she said we talk about mobility in grandiose terms. Oh, higher education is the ticket to mobility, to social mobility. Well, think about those first generation low income students of color and their families and communities too. Think about them, right? Think about these opportunity seekers, right? That they say, oh, they're considering coming to higher education. We need to make this mobility promise or assumption or value proposition concrete to them. What does that look like concretely? We need to help them explain processes of social mobility, bring it to me, to my reality. How do people like me move into the middle class? Which approach has the highest odds of success? These are the different questions we need to be asking ourselves, and these are the conversations we need to be having with our students. What jobs pay middle class wage? Which ones do not? There's these recent experiments done with community college students by economists saying, oh, sorry, I clicked on something that didn't allow me to share. Give me a second, sorry. I responded to an invitation. This idea of how people like me, right? These different types of conversations that we need to be having with our students. I was mentioning about these new experiments that economists are running about how much community college students know about the labor market, right? And they completely overestimate wages, underestimate employment. They have very, very unrealistic, I would say, expectations of how the job market works. But why don't we have it more clear to them? What jobs pay middle class? Which jobs require the credentials that I can obtain? What are the requirements to enter those jobs? And then one's relative position in society. How much do most American earns? Which racial groups succeed economically? Why? How does my financial situation compare to that of most Americans? Again, this is an invitation, colleagues, to center it on students' realities, to start talking to them about these ideas of mobility in their own terms, right? We're competing against social media and get a lot of misinformation. We see headlines, and sometimes we don't know how to make sense of them. Students are going through that process. My last proposition to you, colleagues, let's go back to those classrooms. They are sites of hope, possibilities, and transformation. That's where the students show up. That's where they are. So that's why it's so crucial that we think of maybe bringing the services they need to the classroom, right? These classrooms, colleagues, should be different, should look like different. Let's ask students, in a classroom, in your ideal classroom, what does that feel like? What does that even smell? Like, help me understand that moment so that we can design for that. We can design with students in mind, based on what they experience, based on what they like, based on what it feels to be a college student at the moment. I want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity to be with you this morning. I've enjoyed tremendously preparing with the committee, and I'm here right now hoping that we can engage in a conversation about what I just presented to you. But I also want to say that I've been extremely impressed with just how your convocation has gone this morning, of having land acknowledgement, celebrating people joining to the familia. It's really an honor and something I can definitely take back to my college and learn from you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rios Aguilar. Cecilia is so very thankful. Your speech, your presentation has been totally inspirational. I've been looking at the chat and people are truly amazed. They connect with what you're saying. It validates many of the things we're doing, but it's also raising other questions and raising opportunities for us to reflect even further. So I thank you so very much. At this point, we had scheduled 10 minutes of Q&A. I'm not sure how much time we have for that, but what I'd like to do is one thing. If you have a question for Dr. Rios Aguilar, please place it in the chat because we're not going to be able to get to a lot of questions. So we will make sure we get answers to those questions and share them back with you. We have a couple of questions the committee had put together to start the Q&A, but maybe we can get to two of these questions. And if you've touched, I probably have touched on this really well, but we didn't know that when we put the questions together. So maybe just to highlight on some of these. And the most important one for the planning committee was, what can you say more about the relationship between equity and guided pathways? For us as a group, particularly, what advice do you have for all of BHCC, everyone, classroom, staff, anybody on the campus who's supporting our students? What advice do you have for us to help ensure that we remain squarely focused on the goal of equity in our pathway work? What's the one most important thing that resonates and would be important for all of us to take back with us?
Again, as I was mentioning before, that guided pathways, the first version, I will say, of it, completely means the equity conversation, colleagues. It asks us to reorganize, but without the students in mind. And what would that look like for students, the ones we want to serve mostly and that need most of our help? So one of the things that, again, I want us to take away is asking ourselves where our ideas, what does equity, first having a definition of equity. Sometimes we keep talking about it, but we don't have a common definition. I invite you guys to have it in front of you as a college so that it's posted everywhere. It's understood by everybody, right? What does equity mean for Bunker Hill? That's the exercise we did here at UCLA recently, because nobody or very few of us agreed even on that. So have the first faculty meeting, the first staff meeting saying, what does equity mean here and today for this familia, right? It means, for me, centering the students and making them those who are least likely to succeed, to put them at the center of every decision that we're going to make, right? So for every faculty meeting that you run, for every staff meeting that you run, start with that. Start with that definition of equity so that we're all on the same page as to what does that mean for my day-to-day, for my next meeting with the student when he's going to be in front of me, right? I think revising right there, I see the comments right now, finding that common definition that you guys want to have as a familia and put it everywhere. Make sure everybody carry it with you, show it to the students, post it everywhere. Students will see it, they will pay attention to it, and they will know that you guys are serious about this.
Excellent. Second question I would ask, what role does social, because I know you've done some publishing and on this, but what role does social media play in ensuring the success of our students? Have you seen social media influence, complement guided pathways redesign?
When we got the Gates grant, we tried to learn about that, right? We gave students a Facebook-based platform. It looked like Facebook, it was not Facebook, and we studied it. We wanted to use it to engage students, and we failed miserably. Students told us, I don't need a friend, I don't need a buddy. I need procedural knowledge. I need know-how. I need you to help. So when I think of technology and all the social media and products that community colleges get sold day in and day out, without having students at the center and a clear value proposition as to why I'm going to use this piece of social media. I mean, if you're creating it for students, right? There's an app for everything right now. And you guys are sold products. I'd say be very mindful about those products. What I know is that they use it to gather information, right? And that they use it, they're savvy users of social media, they're not resisting. So there's two things. One is to learn how they're using it, for what purposes, because we are competing with some of the messages included there, sound bites, you don't need a college diploma to get a job. Oh, only if you go to certain fields you're gonna make it, right? That's what we're up against, is those messages that are powerful, that are consumed easily, and that's the way you're using social media. It's not the way we would want them to use apps to belong and to do all these things. That's some of them use it, right? Actually, one of the biggest findings of our grant was passive users were the ones who benefit the most academically. Those who never like, who never comment, who never but read everything, right? Because it has procedural knowledge. They didn't even have to ask a question. Probably somebody else did, right? So we have to be very mindful about this conversation on technology.
Excellent, thank you. I'm gonna, one more, because we are short of time and running behind, but this one I want to make sure we get at as well. You've mentioned working with many community colleges. So what lessons have you learned in your work with the community colleges that you think is most important we attend to as we implement the guided pathways here at BHCC in the context of community colleges?
I think having a learning community, that's one of the things that I've rescued the most, or one of my longest partnerships. I work in partnership with community colleges. And I want to invite you to do that, right? Whenever you invite researchers, work in partnership, ask us tough questions. We need to bring more resources to you. We need not to just go do the research and give you a report. We need to engage with you and learn with you about how this is going to happen in practice and in reality. So having sustained partnerships, learning communities with people who are willing to do that, which is me and my students who all come from community colleges. They know exactly what that road looks like. So partner with them to say, bring your students to the table to every meeting. We have monthly meetings with a lot of community colleges. We use student voices and institutional data to constantly ask, right? We bring some research, right, that we think is important. But most important is a conversation among yourselves about how are we going to change our day in and day out, our habits, our biases, those mythos. We have to work on those myths.
Excellent, Dr. Rios Aguilar. I want to say to you, you are part of the Bunker Hill Community College family. You will continue to inspire us as we move through our grants, so we will continue to collaborate with you. This has been an exceptional foundational presentation for the entire college community in year 2 of our grant, and I am so pleased that you were able to join us and share your experiences, your research, your knowledge with us. We've learned some new terminology that I see from the chat people are going to adopt and continue to pursue. We are pleased to see that our work, what's been done in the past and what we're working on now has been validated by what you have said. But it's given us additional lenses for us to revisit what we're doing, centering things around the student needs. Pam, would you like to add any closing comments?
I would like to thank Cecilia, and Cecilia, you're not getting Marcelo back. We're keeping
Maybe you can take me there then.
Marcelo is our
Come
new.
back because I miss speaking Spanish, that's what I miss a lot from him. He was in front of my office and we would chit chat in Spanish so that, we could understand. But please know that he is a graduate of community colleges and a very strong supporter of community colleges who are in really, really good hands and in an extraordinary moment to make this happen for your students.
Yeah, I think so, and I thank you for being inspirational today. Thank you for helping us name things that we think we're doing, but now we know what they are, and giving us the idea of how to frame the work that we will do going forward. And it's so important to acquire language by which to talk about our work, and folks are so excited in chat. I hope that we're able to talk again, Cecilia, and that you're able to come to us as part of this working and learning family.
It would be an honor. So thank you for inviting me and for allowing me to stay in the family.
Oh yes, anytime. The door is open. We are always to love to have scholars, activists in our midst, and it's nice to have practitioners who knows, what we do and how we go about it. So thank you for being with us today.
Gracias.
Jim, do you have any comment that you'd like to share? 30 seconds. You're muted.
Somebody has to say that.
Sheila,
At
they
least
love to
once.
remind me. Doctor, thank you very much for your presentation. I'm really inspired by it, and I think you've moved us along in our conversation, particularly as we think about pathways and we think about making information clear to students. The idea about the job market and what that means, just such an excellent presentation. And as Alice said, it's kind of a foundational approach to this. And we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. We will keep in touch, folks. This concludes our convocation presentation speaker. You all get a 5-minute break. Be back in 5 minutes to continue with the agenda. Thank you very much, everyone. And thanks to the planning team who helped put the session together.
All right, so we are actually, for an academic institution, we're not that bad in keeping to the clock on the agenda. We have a choice. We have a choice to make. It has been an invigorating morning, and we have 3 more items that we would like to cover before lunch break. We will absolutely infringe on your lunch break at this point, but I think it would be helpful for us just to push through, right? Rather than going away for 10 minutes and coming back. So I'm going to ask actually Naomi if she's okay with that, because she's next. And the work that she is going to talk about plugs right into what Cecilia has been presenting to us. So Naomi, are you okay to go ahead and do your thing now?
I am, but I really feel like people may need a 5-minute break. If we could give them a stretch.
Right. So
knocks me out. I can't see my documents. I don't want to mess with that stuff.
We are hearing multiple conversations going on. All right.
It doesn't work that simple as it does with
Okay. Let's take a break.
So yeah.
Let's come back at 11:15. How's that?
I think we should, yeah.
All right. So we will see everybody back. You don't have to log off. Just mute your thing and stop your video. We'll start up again at 11:15.
Yeah.
In fact, while everybody is muting, Arlene, is the call-in person?
That's Carlos you're hearing. He's here. So we're figuring that out.
All right, Carlos, do not hang up. Maybe we can mute Carlos from here.
Yes, you can mute everyone.
Okay, that'd be good. And then when we come back, we will simply unmute Naomi. Perfect. We're okay in time, right? I'm worried about the division meetings. I think we're okay, right?
I think we'll be okay. I think the deans will be.
We're not that far off.
Yeah, we're only about 10 minutes off. I think
we're okay.
I'll gladly shorten my presentation. I just want to rest the group.
I think we're okay.
All right.
I'm always the one who doesn't let people go to the bathroom. I apologize. I'll see you in a bit. Hello, everyone. I'm going to ask everyone to come back. It is 11:15. So, Naomi, do you have a PowerPoint or are you just going to talk?
Yeah, I just have a few slides.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and bring the slide up and everybody's coming back, and I'll give you a heads up when it gets to like 305 people, which is what we had.
Kenny, I just emailed you again. You see it? All right, we'll get it up.
Okay.
Oh, Kenny's ready.
Well, there we go. All right, welcome back, everybody. Naomi, take it away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Convocation 2021. This is my first convocation. It is very interesting being in higher ed. You know, I went to college, but this didn't strike me as a memory. I literally had to ask Pam about what is a convocation, and here I am. And I'm really, happy to be here. Welcome to all our new employees who are joining the team. And thank you to all the speakers who have gone before me. This has been a great experience, and I'm very happy to be here. Kenny, I had sent another slide. Could you put that on first, please? So my name is Naomi Carlisle. I'm your Chief Equity and Compliance Officer. It does my heart well to hear so much talk about equity and seeing all the actions across our campuses. Um, and even though, I've barely been to campus, even in the online world, there's just so much work being done. And it's exciting. And obviously, there's a lot of work to be done. But equity, like life, is a journey. We can't expect to be perfect all the time. We can't expect to know everything. And we recognize that. We recognize that we have work to do. And, as I'm reflecting and looking back at our history as a college, even in the past decade, the progress that has been made, with different groups within our school. So, like thinking about the Hope Initiative, thinking about DISH, thinking about financial aid, really all the offices, from admissions to our staff members to faculty members. It's really all hands on deck when it comes to being an equitable institution. And as I'm meeting new people and getting to know our leaders, it's amazing that this has been in their forefront. And if it hasn't been, they want to know more. And that has been the main request. How do we learn more? How do we do better? How do we serve our students better? Um, and the least I can do is highlight the work that we have already done, but also provide more opportunities for learning, right? And and I think about also the formation of the CECW and how it has grown. Go back a slide, please, Kenny. And how it has grown and where it's going. Just, attending the Institute this year was just amazing. And it really is like a blueprint for other colleges on what to do and how to proceed and how to educate a community and to provide more opportunities for us to learn. Just like what the keynote said, about students, like they always want to learn. And I find that true to be with our colleagues as well. There are so many people who are excited about this work, who understand the journeys that comes with it and the benefits that will be for both our students and our colleagues alike. So it is my honor to be in this journey with you. And I want to kind of speak about some programs that are upcoming this fall. If you could please mark your calendars, we'll be sending out an email with the WebEx links very soon. As most of you may know, we had a climate survey that was from our equity working group under the leadership of Cheryl Cephas, I believe a year or two ago. And the climate survey had identified several areas of opportunity. It also identified a lot of things that we are doing well, and we're happy to see that. But we also want to, focus in on what needs the help. What plant needs the watering, and we have been thinking more about professional development and training and our compelling conversation series, which I'm going to speak to you about briefly. But first, let's talk about some training. I know that different divisions may have their own trainings or are thinking about training. This is the first time that we are doing a training or opening up a training college-wide. And the purpose of that is we understand that in order to have any change, that it has to be systemic, it has to be systematic, and that it has to be, long-lasting. And we want to start by creating some baseline knowledge of not only what equity is, but how do we, even if we understand what it is, how do we do it? Like, how do we approach it? How do we best serve our students? Like, how are we going to be our best professor or be the best professor we can be, or administrator or staff member? How do we contribute to an equitable environment? We have some trainings that are going to be upcoming. The first one is actually going to be in just a few days, September 10th. This training is going to be for managers only. We are requiring all NUPs to be at this training. The reason why we're starting with managers, I think leadership and understanding diversity, equity, inclusion, the leadership is it's incredibly important that the leadership understands how to manage, right? So if we create this great environment, or we try to rather, but then we have issues where people who have the authority to approve time off or approve attending a program or approve, any type of authority, we want to start there. And so we're going to have a training on Friday, September 10th with Dr. Khalees Warnham. We are looking forward to everybody being there with 100% attendance, and also finding out how we could build off on that. Our second training is going to be on Monday, September 13th. This is going to be open to all staff, faculty, administrators. This is in conjunction with the CECW, in partnership with them. This is the history of race and racism in America. And this is going to be led by Christian Bijou. He is a great facilitator, and we've all been to history class. We've all may have learned about race and racism in America. I can tell you that what I learned in history class and how he teaches history about race and racism is extremely different. I think this time will be well spent. I hope that all can make some time to be here. Yeah, we call it like a lunchtime training. I understand that, there's unfortunately our academic calendar is so packed. It's hard to find times that work for everyone, which is why we're bringing multiple sessions with the history of race and racism in America. Right now we have one session scheduled, but that's going to be a 3-part series. So we're hoping you can join us for that first part on September 13th. And on the October 14th, we'll have microaggression keynote with Dr. Khalees Warnum. And that's going to repeat, in November as well. We're trying to create multiple sessions so you have multiple opportunities to participate. These are going to be not only lecture style, but there's some work that's going to need to be done as well. We will offer some reading beforehand. This is the interesting part about academia. This is the first job I've ever had where people want to read beforehand. And that is amazing. That is amazing. Usually it's like, we'll just go to the training. Yeah, but we don't want to read anything. But here it's like, well, we want to prepare for this. And I am trying to shift to that and make sure I can prepare and provide that reading in a timely fashion. So we will get you your reading, your pre-reading, and your post-reading. I think these trainings are going to be very beneficial to us as a college community. I hope that you attend. Eventually, we'll have more trainings in the spring, but please do your best to be there for these upcoming trainings in the fall. And I also want to go to the Compelling Conversation series, Kenny. All right. So our Compelling Conversation series, this has been something that we have been having for quite a few years. I don't know when it started, but it's really to support meaningful dialogue inside and outside of the classroom to support our ongoing college-wide mission of equity, cultural wealth. I really want it to go outside of just dialogue, but it starts with dialogue, right? Let's start talking about it. Let's start getting to know what this means, what this is, how we can contribute so we can know what action, so we can make some informed decisions and when we're in our actionable steps. So with the Compelling Conversation series, we were thinking about, me and Kevin Weary's team, which are great, by the way, thinking about what to focus on this year. And, looking at the climate survey, one theme that had resonated very strongly was that we're in terms of attendance, the most affected group were men of color. So we would like to highlight men of color in this Compelling Conversation series. And we are going to do so by bringing, usually the Compelling Conversation is a session, but we turned it into a series because why not? And our next slide, please, Kenny. So our first one is going to be our one book presenter, Jose Olivares. And I believe that few classes are already reading this book. We're very excited for Jose to be our first series presenter. He is a very good speaker. He is an award-winning author. I mean, what more do we want? He's coming to our college. We are so happy about it. Thursday, September 23rd. More information will be coming on that. And then next. Okay. We heard him this morning, Larry Spotted Crowman. He is the one who did our land acknowledgement this morning. And, with that land acknowledgement, this is how we want to start a lot of things. We want to adopt it on our websites and everywhere because we do acknowledge it. And Larry did an incredible job this morning. And we are looking forward to more of his work. He will be presenting in the Compelling Conversation series on October 5th. And our next person will be Philanese Floyd. He is the brother of George Floyd and now a social change maker. You know, it's unfortunate what gets us into these situations on how we become a social change maker. But, you know, I really wanted to invite Philanese to our campus so he can speak about not only his experience, his upbringing, how this has affected him and his family, but, you know, this has, you know, that unfortunately, this was felt across the world. And, you know, yes, it has started conversations. It's still difficult to speak about though. So, you know, I was concerned about whether this was too soon. But, you know, I think it's important to highlight it, to bring it forward as we remember the life of George Floyd. And next, we are going to have Sean Ellis. There is a Netflix series on Sean Ellis, actually. I believe it's called Trial 4. If you haven't watched the series, it will be, you should take some time to watch the series. He is a Boston native who, you know, he says that he was falsely, you know, convicted of a crime, spent time in jail. I don't want to give it all away, but please watch the Netflix series, and we'll find a way to make it available as well if possible beforehand. So in preparation for his coming. So I'm really looking forward to Sean Ellis coming as well. And lastly, we have Kenji Yoshino. I believe he has come to our campus before. And my understanding, he's a great speaker. He's an award-winning author of Covering the Hidden Assault on Our Civil Rights, constitutional law scholar, and anti-discrimination advocate. We are looking forward to Kenji closing out our compelling conversation series. So that is what is on the horizon right now. You know, we know there's a lot going on. We don't want to overwhelm anyone, which is why we kind of spread out these sessions. But we also want to provide as many opportunities as possible for us to learn from people, learn from each other. And we will give you the date, the times of these sessions as soon as possible and record them as well so that they can be available if you're not able to make the exact date and time. And that is all. Thank you for your time today. Happy first convocation to me and everyone else who hasn't been to one before. Looking forward to many more of these days, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you.
A number of folks actually ask what time are the speakers, and I thought that, you know, when we used to have speakers on campus, they would spend time in the morning in classes with students, and then we would have the speakers in early afternoon. But Denise Turner just told me that the speakers are at 6 p.m., which would allow for a lot of participation, much easier than if they are in the middle of classes. So my apologies to Alan. I gave him the wrong information the first time around. So we're hoping that information will come out for everybody. And happy convocation, Naomi. This is an interesting event for those who are new to this. I'm going to now turn the proceedings over to Dr. Kim Fraser. Kim is our professor and chairperson of the Environmental Science Department. And I wanted to also congratulate Kim on being partners to a grant that was received. We're partnered to UMass Boston, and we received a grant from NASA to do work in STEM and to expand opportunities for students like our students. So congratulations on that. I know you worked hard on it. And I'm going to turn this piece of it over to you to introduce once again Larry Spotted Crow Man and the project of Lang Acknowledgement. Kim?
Great. Hi, everyone, and thank you for that introduction. I'm honored today to be here to share with you some more information about Larry Spotted Crow Man, and also to tell you more about his Artist and Scholar in Residence program component. Larry Spotted Crow Man is an award-winning writer, poet, Native American cultural educator, traditional storyteller, drummer, dancer, motivational speaker, and playwright, and a consultant on Indigenous pedagogy. He is the director of the Ocotillo Cultural Center and founder of the Native American Youth Empowerment Foundation. He has traveled extensively throughout the US, Canada, and parts of Europe, sharing his music, culture, and history of the Nipmuc people at powwows, schools, and colleges. He has given lectures at universities on topics including Native American sovereignty and identity. He is the former board member of the Nipmuc Cultural Preservation and organization set up to promote the cultural and spiritual needs of the Nipmuc people. He is a resource about Native American studies. And now for some of his program components. If any of these sound interesting to you, I invite you to contact myself, Larry Spotted Crow Man, or Kevin Weary, and be involved in the planning of these program components. You've already heard about his land acknowledgement development specific to Bunker Hill. Another project that he'll be working on involves inviting people from our community to Okateo Cultural Center to learn about the history of the Nipmuc people and their culture. So he'll be hosting in-person retreats at Okateo. He will also lead a series of workshops for our students, professional development workshops. They will be centered on Native American culture, pedagogy, storytelling, and sobriety. He will have one dedicated workshop for our entire community about the transformative power of storytelling, multicultural storytelling, illustration, and bookmaking. And so we're really looking forward to that. The next slide, please. Larry will be consulting on a project that embeds Native American content and culture across curriculum in our college and also work areas. And so if you're interested in being involved in that project, please connect with us. He will be informing the creation of a short documentary about the history and banishment of Nipmuc people to Deer Island and Boston Harbor. And so we'll have that documentary to share in future years. So that's a really sustainable project. He will be facilitating in the development of partnerships with Native Americans in our area. And the goal of that project is to form stronger alliances with our Native American community members, and also to strategize onboarding pathways for Native American students to our college. And so we're excited about that work as well. He will be presenting and coordinating Indigenous Peoples Day event on campus in October. He will be consulting on a Native American gallery exhibit on campus in the spring. And finally, Larry will help us to identify and infuse a Native American cultural component into our graduation ceremony. And so we're looking forward to that as well. Again, please connect with us if you're interested. I'd like to invite Larry to say a few words about his residency program and this new collaboration. Thank you all. Larry?
Yes. Hi. Hello all again. Thank you, Kim, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you all for the day's presentation. It's been very enlightening. And one of the first things I think about is how great it is to have all this work, this collaboration in this particular time. So many folks doing this type of work, that you are not alone, that you are a part of a collective that are actively engaged in this work. I just want to briefly kind of share something that happened last night that I wasn't even planned on talking about, but it happened and it was very jarring. And I think it's worth mentioning. So I've been an educator and culture presenter for about 3 decades now, and I probably shared at 1,000 schools and colleges and organizations, and it's been pretty amazing. The one school I've never spoke at are the schools that I attended as a child, and I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and so I get this email, as I do quite often, from requests to do presentations, and it was from my junior high, and it was triggering. That was probably the worst time of my life. I grew up in a black and brown area we're what we call first generation city. My folks were living in tribal enclaves, and so it was a very jarring experience that within itself. And so grew up in this predominantly black neighborhood, and we were bussed out to this white school during 1979, and it was really a horrifying experience. The racism that came not only from the students but the teachers, the feckless attitude that they had toward us. And I didn't realize it 2 years later that all the black and brown kids that were bussed out there, we all ended up in the same class. And we fooled around, and it was a great time as a 15-year-old, right? You think it's great. And we did what we wanted, and the teachers never said a word. And it seemed like the white kids, who I've never was really in class with, they kind of moved through the halls like these majestic knights who had the keys to the kingdom, and calling the teachers by their first name basis. And so, and I stared at that email, this request from this teacher that asked me to come and speak there, and I kind of shared what I just shared with you, her last night, and I'm sure she was not expecting that response from where I had spent my youth. And you know, and I kind of went on about how we were one of the close friends I had. He was from Laos, a Laotian kid, and we were very good friends. And one day I missed the bus, and he missed the bus, and we walked home, and we were attacked, and he was punched, and I was hit with bottles by the white kids there. And so this was kind of the life that we were experiencing in that time. And on the bottom of her email was a land acknowledgement mentioning my tribe, and it was like, wow. How ironic that I would get this email acknowledging my people in my space, you know, some 30 something years later. And it was just like, wow. And it was a reminder why I do this work. It was the impetus for a lot of my writing and what I've led to do for this last 3 decades. And those are the experiences that I went through, that I've been working my life to change for the black and brown students, that we don't see our reflections in the classroom. We don't see our work, our life, our being mattered. And obviously, needless to say, there were no black and brown teachers there. Nothing reflective to kind of envision who we were. And so that's been the inspiration for my work in those traumatic experiences. And then going a little further back, my great grandparents coming from 3 generations of boarding schools and being taken from their homes. And so this was kind of a continuation of this trauma, this kind of, you know, this systematic institutionalized racism and so on. And so this is why this work is so urgent and so important in this time now. And as Kim mentioned, we have a multitude of things we're going to be addressing and working on. So I'm really excited to be doing this work to help make those changes in young people's lives. And I know we're running out of time, and I am a diehard speaker. I love to speak. It's the Crow spirit. But so I just really wanted to share that with all of you, especially the younger folks, and kind of get an understanding what it was like for black and brown kids, even in the 70s and 80s, where it was still segregation right here in liberal Massachusetts, kind of what we were going through. And so kind of sit into that understanding, and this time of change is really an exciting time to be in. And so I really look forward to this work. Thank you.
Larry and Kim, thank you for being here this morning. And I really look forward to all of these different elements that you pointed out to unfold this year. And I'm sure that things will iterate, things will change, but I think in the process, I hope that we can embrace all that wisdom that we have managed to suppress and erase over our history, and to reclaim some of it. Well, and for Larry to reclaim some of it, and for us to be able to ask to share. I think that's a really important point. So Larry, we will see you soon. And Kim, congratulations again, and on your grant. And we hope to see you during the year in person, so I can give you a hug. This is really weird. All right, so I've been Arlene and I are having sort of a one-sided conversation because I can't do a private chat with her, and she's telling me that we've lost most of lunch.
Yes, we have.
And our suggestion is perhaps to slide lunch half an hour, but I know the deans and the department chairs have things planned at 12 and then again at 1. Is this going to freak out all the folks who have things planned on during those times? Or can we start the division meetings at 12:30?
It works for me, Pam. I think giving people a chance to get something to eat before our division meeting probably would be great. This is Carlita, by the way. So
Yeah.
I think 12:30 works for us, but
Austin is fine, and Nuri is fine, and Laura is
Marianne is
fine.
fine.
All right, so we have a majority here, and those of you who can't get to the keyboard, we're assuming that y'all are okay. All right, so the last presentation we have is actually Carlos Maynard, and I think Carlos is on the phone with us, right, Arlene, because he's having trouble getting a picture?
Yes, Carlos, can you hear us?
Uh-oh. Carlos? Should we wait
Can you
a
hear
sec?
me now?
Oh, yes, that's terrific. We hear you. Go ahead. It's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Pam. Welcome, Bunker Hill, once again to our 2021 Convocation. It's certainly good to be back, even though we continue to be virtual, but we look forward to the near future when we are able to see each other face to face in person. So I just wanted to make a few announcements and talk about some of the things that the Latino Student Success has been doing and planning for fall 2021. So first, I want to emphasize that a few days ago, on August 31st, we had our first Latinx student and family orientation, the first one we've ever had, and it was very successful. And we look forward to doing more of these in the near future and in semesters to come. So I'm very glad for that. And for the members of our planning team that were able to organize that, I want to thank them. In addition to that, this fall, and you probably have heard about it or seen it via email, we are launching what we call an LSSI OER Hackathon, which is a collaboration between LSSI Global Languages and our H office. And basically, the goal is to find relevant, culturally pertinent material and resources and literature that actually will aid the success of our Latinx students at Bunker Hill. And the interest form is due. It's on September 9th. It will be followed by a couple of trainings on how to go about doing that. And the deliverables are going to be due on the 10th of October. So if you have any questions about the LSSI OER Hackathon, you can certainly contact Melissa Colon, who is my co-laborer in the LSSI team. And you can find her email on the directory pretty easy. So that's one thing. The second thing I wanted to mention is that we are gearing up as we have begun September, this month of September, in the middle of September, the 15th to October 15th. If Kenny can put that slide up even at this time concerning Hispanic Heritage Month, where we're going to be celebrating this month, and we will start off with a kickoff on the 15th at 4 p.m., trying to understand what this Heritage Month is all about. And we hope that many of you will be available and willing to join that conversation and that discussion so you have a better understanding of our culture. We're not a monolithic culture. We're a very heterogeneous culture, and there's lots of layers to sometimes uncover. So we hope that you will come and join us for that conversation. In addition to that, we will also have Professor Julio Flores, who will be engaging in some art discussions and different individuals that he will be actually drafting over the course of the semester. And those two conversations will take place on Wednesday, the September 22nd, and Wednesday, October 6th. So I hope you can join those conversations with him as well. And throughout the next coming weeks, you will see the schedule for Hispanic Heritage Month being sent out via email. So stay put to hear that. Last but not least, on Hispanic Heritage Month, I believe Naomi emphasizes, and I want to reiterate it, the One Book Compelling Conversation speaker, Jose Olivares, who is also speaking during Hispanic Heritage Month, as well as Larry Coleman as well. So we want to encourage everyone to really set aside those dates and to engage in those conversations and those dialogues. It is very important that we learn from each other's culture, and this is one way in which we can do so. Last but not least, if either Kenny or can put up the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about our new Hope Fellows program. Through our Hope program that we will be launching this fall 2021. And we are really excited about this. It is another PD, professional development opportunity for all those who are able to participate. Space is limited, but certainly you will be receiving emails shortly about what you will need to do to apply, put in your interest forms, and then we will follow up later on what the next steps are. But we want to make sure, as Naomi mentioned, that it's important for us to understand the history that comes behind us and helps us comprehend our current circumstances in the times in which we are living concerning Black and Latinx students. And since Hope has been working with male students for quite some time, in the future we will expand to women as well and other groups. So right now the focus is going to be on males. And we want everyone who is able to engage in this professional development. You can do it asynchronously or you can do it synchronously live. And we will be able to offer you some additional insights on what the next steps will be in the next coming weeks. So I hope you're able to join us. So those are some of the key announcements that I have. There will be some other initiatives and other PDs that will occur in the spring under the auspices of LSSI, and we will inform you more about those. But what I can say from now is because we are a heterogeneous group, you're going to see a presence of us in Black History Month, Poetry Month, Women's History Month, International Student Week, and a host of the other activities that we have throughout the spring. You're going to see a presence of LSSI in a number of those activities. And then at the end of the year, we will have a close out where we celebrate our culture as well. And we will certainly invite you to participate. So those are the announcements that I have for you today regarding professional developments that are coming down the pike. And as I said, I hope you are able to participate. As Naomi said, there's a lot going on, but it is valuable, it is beneficial in order to aid the success of our students. And one thing I can say about the Hope Fellows is our outcomes are aligned with Bunker Hill outcomes of persistence, retention, and completion. And those are the kinds of projects we're hoping that participants in this Fellows program will be able to develop and also implement in their work areas. It is not only for faculty, it is also open for staff. So it's both curricular and co-curricular engagement and integration. So those are the announcements that I have for you. I won't keep you any further. I know we are all looking forward to have a lunch break. So thank you all for your attention. Sorry that I could not see your face, but as you know, in this virtual world in which we live, you know, sometimes we have to pivot and make some adjustments. So thank you once again. Enjoy your lunch. I turn it over back to Pam even right now.
Thank you, Carlos. You sounded great. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. And the key announcement here is that lunch is now at 12:30. So everything is shifted and the links have been changed. So you will get there at the right time. It's been a very full morning, but I want to send all of you off to your lunch and to your next venue with this thought. A lot of times people will come to us and say, well, you got all these different things going on. It's just too many. You're confused. You're not focusing. You've got too many initiatives and everybody is kind of scattered. It does look like that, doesn't it? when you see these things individually and get into the details, it's a lot of work by very, very large numbers of people. But I want you to know that all of this is deliberate. We are not just doing popcorn events and popcorn like initiatives and grabbing what we can where we can with no plan. If you look at the work that we're doing now, there is a convergence in all of this work. And the convergence is really moving back to the goals we have when we do strategic planning. It is persistent, it is retention, it is completion, it is moving on to careers and the next advancement for our students. All of the stuff that we do are moving in that direction. And don't ever let anyone tell you that there are just too many things going on, because the statement is not complete. We have a lot of things going on and all of them converge and share similar outcomes. We are a deliberate institution. We don't shoot from the hip. It is not what we do. So what you see really is the complexity and the richness, but it does weave into a tapestry. Have no doubt, all of you, we hired you because of your accomplishments, because of your expertise, but also in your ability to see these connections. And that's really the most important thing for me. So our center of effort continues. I'm so sorry to use that sailing term, but our center of effort is our student. And if we can keep a hold of that, nothing is going to detract us from it. So I will send you off. Thank you for being here this morning. Please feel the hope, feel the optimism. Everything else will come along once you have those. And take care of the people who report to you, and those of you who are reporting to supervisors, take care of your supervisors. It's been a really hard year. So, have grace and be forgiving. Be forgiving with folks. All right, everybody, have a good lunch. I don't know what you're having for lunch. I'm having a second cup of coffee so I can be talking just as fast as I am after lunch. So see you all soon. Thank you for being here. It's been a terrific opening of school. And stay safe.